What's going on, Coldwater Nation? It's Geoff, and today I'll be showing you how to tie the 9 Biot Stonefly. This is a pattern I've been working on since I started tying, and it has evolved over time as I've developed my fly tying skills. This pattern is called the 9 Biot Stonefly because it requires 9 turkey biots in order to tie this pattern. It is very costly to tie this pattern, but the rewards far outweigh the expense of using 9 turkey biots for one fly. I am very excited to showcase this wonderful pattern to you all, so without further ado, let's get into tying the 9 Biot Stonefly.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Oh my god, look at that! Look at that toe!
The squirmy worm is an effective and very deadly fly.
What's up, guys? My name's Brian,
And I'm Geoff.
and you're watching Coldwater. Let's rip some lips.
This video is brought to you in part by Upstate Excursions and by Black Dog Outdoor Sports. To start, I will place a size 10 shrimp scud hook with a 5/32 inch black slotted tungsten bead into my vise. Then I will take my black 8/0 thread and start to wind my thread onto the shank directly behind the bead in order to secure it in place. Next, I will take about a 3-inch length of thin silver wire and tie that in parallel to the shank of the hook. I will then stop my thread just beyond the barb of the hook. From there, I will take 2 brown turkey biots and tie them in as the tail of the fly. I make sure that the natural curves of the biots are facing away from one another. That way I can tie in those 2 biots at the same time and still have that classic forked tail of a stonefly nymph. I also make sure that the tail of the fly is no longer than the space from behind the bead to the bend of the hook. To tie in the tail, I line up the biots to be the length I measured previously, and then I make a pinch wrap to secure the biots in place before taking a few more tight wraps of thread. Then I will go in and snip away the excess of the biots. Next, I will grab one of my whole natural turkey feathers and peel one of the biots from the stem. Then I will tie that single naturally colored biot from the tip of the biot so that the fattest part of the biot is facing out the back of the fly. Then I will wind my thread up evenly to about the middle of the hook. From here, I carefully wrap the biot up the shank of the hook with a little bit of overlap on each wrap until I get to my thread. Then I take a few tight wraps to secure the end of the biot in place before snipping away the excess. Then I will take my silver wire and take even wraps with the wire up the shank of the hook following the edges created by the overlapped biot wraps from before. Then I will take a few tight wraps of thread to secure the silver wire before doing a few figure 8 wraps around the wire to ensure it is locked in before helicoptering the excess wire off. After all that has been completed to form the tail and the thorax of the fly, I will take some additional wraps to make sure I have an even thread base for the body of the fly. Once I have an even thread base and I have returned my thread back to the middle of the hook, I will take my dubbing wax and wax a section of my thread before taking a small wisp of peacock colored nymph dubbing and making a thin dubbing noodle. I will then take my newly formed dubbing noodle and create a small dubbing ball just in front of where the natural biot and silver wire got tied in. This will serve as the beginning of the body of the fly, as well as making sure the biots along the body remain splayed out once the fly is in the water. Then I will take 2 more brown turkey biots and tie them in so they are pointing away from the bead head as the first set of legs. For all 6 of the legs, you do not want them to be longer than the distance from the bead head to the start of the tail of the fly. Once I have the first 2 legs tied in securely and the excess trimmed away, I will again grab my natural turkey feather, but this time, instead of peeling away another biot from the feather, I will instead take a section of the flank, which is the thinner and softer side from the biots, and strip that off the feather. This will become the wing casing of the stonefly. I like to use groupings of about 10 or so fibers of the softer turkey flank to form my wing cases, but you can use less or more depending on the size of the stonefly, geographical location, or personal preference. To start forming the wing casing, I will tie in the softer fibers by their tips and make some more tight wraps to really make sure those softer fibers won't pull out. With the wing casing material prepped, it is time to wax the thread again, take another wisp of peacock colored dubbing to create a slightly thicker dubbing noodle than before, and create another dubbing ball. Then I will take another 2 brown biots and tie them in like I did with the previous set of legs before trimming away the excess once the biots are secured. But before I go and make another dubbing ball, there is a bit of work that needs to be done with the wing casing that we started just a little while back. At this point, I take my softer turkey flank fibers and fold them over to the previous dubbing ball before taking a few tight wraps to secure it. Then I will bend those same fibers back towards the tail before wrapping them over at the same point again to create the natural fold in the wing casing of stoneflies. Now I will repeat the process of waxing my thread, creating another slightly larger dubbing noodle, and making another dubbing ball. However, this time I won't tie in the biots so that they are pointing towards the tail. Instead, I will tie the biots in next to the bead so they are splayed out in front of the fly. Once those two biots are tied in evenly and secure, I will snip away the excess before waxing my thread and creating, yet again, another even larger dubbing ball behind the front-facing legs I just tied in. Now I will finish the wing casing by folding over the softer turkey flank fibers towards my bead before taking a few wraps to secure them right behind the head of the fly. Once those fibers are secure, I will trim away the excess. I promise we are getting close to finishing this pattern, but one of the last things I do is I create a tiny dubbing noodle to cover the final tie-in spot of the wing casing. And finally, I grab my whip finishing tool to make a double whip finish before applying a few dabs of head cement to the threads, as well as the wing casing to increase the durability of the fly. And there you have it, one fully tied 9 Biot Stonefly ready to spice up your next late winter and early spring fishing adventure.
We hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked what you saw today, consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.
Until then,
Tight
tight lines,
lines,
everybody.
everybody.